Recently I had my 5-year anniversary. No alcohol. Yes, I don't drink, and I haven't drank for 5 years. Not a single sip of alcohol. I kind of forget that like people drink and like aren't having the same exact experience of life that I'm having. I mean, aren't we all kind of like that? I just want to take some time to reflect on that, celebrate that, and also answer questions about it. So I posted on my Instagram story and like on my community and asked for your questions about what life is like when you are not a drinker. I've been tired for like a week. I've been working too hard. I'm getting a little burned out. So this is gonna be like a cozy casual video. I'm not gonna do anything crazy for this one. Sorry. But I do just wanna say like I'm not like a drug or addiction counselor. I'm not a therapist. I only know about my experience and I've read like 3 books on this. So I am not an expert. There are creators out there who like specialize in talking about sobriety. They might be a better resource for that kind of advice, but I'm just gonna tell you my experience because that is what I know about the most. Okay, so LBRQQQ asked, when did you start drinking alcohol and when did you stop? So I started drinking alcohol when I was 19, drinking pretty consistently. I probably had my first alcoholic beverage maybe when I was like 12 or 13, like at a Christmas party. I had like some eggnog. I don't think I was supposed to. I just did. I have like a big family and they like to drink, so there was just like alcohol and I just helped myself. But I was actually kind of like anti-partying when I first went to college. Like I didn't drink, I don't think like at all my freshman year of college, maybe like once or twice. But I just thought like drunk people were like gross and scary and I was like very freaked out by the idea of partying. I also had a boyfriend who was like in high school still, and he like didn't want me to go party and blah blah blah. That's another story for another time. So I didn't start drinking until me and that guy broke up, and then I went back to college for my sophomore year and I was like, I'm ready to party. I was 19 and then I drank until I was 30. I was more like a partier or like a happy hour person, you know? Like I didn't necessarily like drink at home by myself very often. I did sometimes, but it was more about like going out, socializing, going to parties, going to bars, going to clubs. That was kind of my jam for a while. Okay, so Tea Latte to Go asks, how did you decide to quit and what did you start to do instead of drinking? I had experimented with going alcohol free before I quit for real. There were a few periods in my life where like I just felt like I was like really getting off the rails, like things were getting kind of like scary, like maybe I like am in like problem territory. So I had quit like a few times before, but I don't think I ever like quit for more than 2 weeks. And then when I was 30, I was kind of in a bad headspace because I had accomplished my dream, which was to become a freelance copywriter and be able to travel the world. And I traveled for over a year and I just realized like I'm still not happy. Like it doesn't matter whether I'm in Norway or China or Portugal, like I'm still here and I'm not happy with myself. So I started seeing a therapist and she was like pretty quick to point out like, hey, you are hungover all the time. Because I feel like I wasn't necessarily like problematic when I was drinking. I mean, sometimes I was, but I wasn't like engaging in a lot of risky behavior. It was more like the problem was how much time I was spending drinking and then how much time I was spending hungover, which was far exceeded how much time I would spend drinking. I mean, like literally, especially when I was living in Europe, like I feel like I would like party from like Thursday to like Sunday, and then I would have like Monday I'd be too hungover to work, and then I'd have like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were the only days I could work, and then I would just like do it again. So I was like just hungover all the time. It was significantly impacting my life, and she was like, hey, why don't you just like try to not drink for a month and see how you feel. So at that point, I was back from my travels. Little did I know that that was the end of my travels. I thought I was just back at my parents' house for the holidays, but it was fall 2019. So I didn't even like really plan it. I noticed it had been a couple days since I drank, and I was like, well, I wonder how long I can go. And I'm still wondering that, ha ha ha. And honestly, by the time I reached a month, I felt so much better, and I've pretty much never looked back after that. The hardest time was at the beginning, so it was hard to get used to not drinking. I feel like for me, like alcohol has a lot of sugar in it, and my body was like crying out for that sugar when I first quit. So the first couple months were honestly like, I would just like lay in bed and watch Hallmark movies and eat chocolate. And I was like, you know what? Whatever I need to do, like that's fine. That's acceptable. Like I will figure out how to not drink and not have to do these things later. Like I just need to get to the point where I have more of like a solid foundation of sobriety. You know, it's like Minecraft. Like you just gotta like get like a little fort to hide in from the zombies, and then like you can like build from there, but you just have to start with a little fort. So what did I replace it with? That's a good question. At first it was like watching movies, reading books. I was living with my parents when I first quit, so I had like my family around, which was nice. Then I moved into my own house. Then it was the pandemic. It's hard to say like what exactly I replaced it with, because within like 6 months of quitting, it was the pandemic. So at first it was like, it was just the holidays. I was busy with that kind of stuff. I was just watching a lot of Christmas movies, and then I was like in the process of dealing with getting a house, and then it was the pandemic. So it was like the world changed so much that it was easier, I think, to quit at that point. I don't know, it like opened up so much space in my life. Like I finally had time to like do all these things I wanted to do. Like I got back into doing music. I started a second business, the Freelance Writer's Guide. I started a YouTube channel. I started playing video games again. I like bought a piano, started learning how to play piano. Yeah, I got like more hobbies. I started doing improv, and that's been a great way to meet people who don't drink. Yeah, I just actually started to do all the things that I had like, oh, I wish I could do that. Well, I finally had time because I wasn't hungover all the time and like had energy. Okay, so Deanne Dennis asked, how do you deal with social situations and events where a lot of alcohol is present? How do you deal with people peer pressuring you and saying things like, but it's only one drink, lighten up? Okay, that's a two-part question. One, social situations where there's a lot of alcohol present, it depends. Like if it's something like that's gonna be a total shit show, like a bar crawl, like where the whole point of it is drinking, I don't go. Like I just won't go to it. I've been invited to them and I was like, hey, that's not my thing. Why would I go to a bar crawl? Like that's not me at all. If it is like a party or like a wedding or something, I go, I have a good time. When everybody starts to get like really drunk, I just leave. And the great thing is when people are really drunk, you don't have to say bye. You just leave. They don't even remember that you left or that you were ever even there. Like usually around like midnight, people start getting gross, and that's my cue to leave. And I don't feel bad about it because nothing good happens after midnight anyways, right? That's what my mom used to say. As far as people peer pressuring, that really only happened like in the first year maybe of not drinking, sorry. It was only like the first year would anybody really say anything about it. And the reason why that stopped is, well, it was the pandemic, so I wasn't even seeing anyone to have them pressure me to drink. But I also stopped hanging out with a lot of the people that I knew that I used to drink with. We just stopped being friends because it turned out I didn't actually like them. And after a year or so, like people were like, yeah, that's just a part of her personality. So no one brings it up or asks me. Sometimes when I meet someone new, like I met a couple like friends of friends the other day, and like one like ordered a bunch of shots at the bar, and then she handed me one. I was like, no thanks, I don't drink. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she just drank it. So it was fine. It wasn't a big deal at all. Then everyone started getting too drunk and I went home. if anyone is being like, oh, it's just one drink, like that's not very nice, but it reflects more on them than on you. I think, and I noticed this when I first quit drinking, that it made some people feel threatened, as if by me not drinking, it was saying something about their drinking, which of course it does not unless they're making it about themselves. Those were really the only people that I was like feeling that peer pressure from, but I don't hang out with those people anymore. So now there's no pressure at all. Also, I just want to say I'm not very affected by peer pressure, and in fact, it often has the opposite effect on me. If someone wants me to do something, I will do the opposite thing. I also know that this commenter is from the UK, so there's a different drinking culture there for sure. In the US, it is definitely a drinking culture, but there is like a pretty strong non-drinking culture here too, or like a sobriety culture. So it's just different. You know, it's different in every country, every city, how people embrace things and how they feel about it. Like I've read in, gosh, I think it was in Sweden or something, like their sobriety programs for like alcoholism are more focused on just like teaching you how to drink moderately. It's not even about sobriety. So there's different ways to approach it. And I don't do AA, and I don't really like agree with that AA is for everyone, and I don't like how AA people basically insinuate that if you don't do AA then you're gonna relapse or something, because I'm not going to relapse because I don't care about alcohol or think about it. Like I think it's gross. I personally think that in 50 years or 60 years, 70 years, whatever, we will look back at alcohol the way we look back at cigarettes, like in the 50s, and just be like, what the fuck were people thinking? It's gross, it's bad for you, just does nothing good for your life. And I think it's like an act of self-love to not drink. Okay, so Hoovy and Kaylee 4113 ask, just say no. I'm not afraid to say no to people because I care more about myself and my principles and my health than what somebody else thinks of me. And if it's gonna be like a make or break thing, like if I don't drink with them, then they're not gonna be my friend anymore, then they're not gonna be my friend anymore, because I do care more about myself. It is harder with family because my extended family drinks. I mean, my whole family drinks. That I feel like that has driven a wedge between us. Maybe it's in my head. But if you are going to make a big lifestyle change, you have to accept that it will affect your relationships. But on the flip side, I've made a lot of new, really amazing friends who don't drink, and I would have never been friends with them before. So, you win some, you lose some. What are your thoughts on America's casual alcoholism? Are you ever tempted to go back when everyone in media and IRL talk about how bad they need a drink or suggest everything is more fun with alcohol? Yeah, okay. So that's how I got into drinking, was just like, it was around. It seemed like everyone I knew was drinking, which is not true. There were plenty of people that I knew that did not drink, but everyone in my family liked to drink. So that's kind of like just the environment that I grew up in. A family of like successful people who like to have a good time. So I just thought that was what being a grown-up was. Like drinking is part of it. And I didn't have like many models that weren't that. And I used to think like, if I quit drinking, like I'm gonna be so lame. Like it's gonna be so stupid. Cause I just didn't have any like role models who didn't drink. Or so I thought. And then like once I quit drinking, like I found out like tons of people don't drink. I think only like 50% of people in the US drink. It's not as pervasive as you might think. In life, whenever you want to make a big change, it's really important to seek out expanders. Find people who have or do the thing that you want to have or do. If they're someone that lives in your town, like go get coffee with them, hang out with them, or like Watching YouTube is a great place to find expanders. I like to listen to podcasts, reading like celebrity memoirs. These are all good ways to find people who can expand your perception of what is possible. I know that this commenter is kind of like in a world where everyone is talking about how bad they need a drink or everything is more fun with alcohol, but trust me, not everyone thinks that. That is not what's everything that's out there. That's just like what you're surrounded with right now. If you start surrounding yourself with other inputs to your perception, then you'll start to see different things. And like, this is why I don't go like on Twitter, or I don't like to talk to people who are like really negative, or I have to have like strong boundaries with people who are negative, because the things that are going into your ears, your eyes, they're affecting your perspective. If I started a new TV show and like the characters were just like always talking about how badly they needed a drink and like just drinking a lot, like I would not watch that TV show. Like I would just stop. I would find something else to watch. Yeah, and it's easier to start with like the media that you consume, like just watch a different TV show, watch a different movie, read a different book. Unfollow people who are promoting that kind of behavior and find other things to enjoy. It's more difficult with the people in your life, but when you quit drinking, like it's like you're like an onion, right? And you're kind of just like taking off like all the like gross papery parts on the outside, and like sometimes it takes a few layers to get all of those off. So you might like stop hanging out with like some negative coworkers that you always go to happy hour with. You might stop going to happy hour, then they're like, you kind of grow apart from them. It doesn't have to be like a dramatic breakup. You just, sometimes when you quit drinking, you realize that you do not actually like that person, or like you don't really have that much in common with them, especially because quitting drinking allows you to like really find yourself and find your own interests, your own personality. I feel like before I quit drinking, I was like not really a person. I was just like an entity that was like existing in the world and just like floating around, that I had no real sense of self. I had like no self-esteem, no like self-confidence, no self-love. You know, when you take off the anesthetic, when you remove the anesthetic of alcohol from your life, it's like everything becomes more clear and you start to be like, wow, like I have like severe anxiety. That's what I discovered, that I had social anxiety, and that's why I was drinking so much, probably. So no, I'm never tempted to go back. I would say it was hard at first, but the book that completely changed my perspective on everything was Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. One of the main points that she makes in that book is that alcohol is an anesthetic that prevents us from feeling the pain in our lives, and it's the pain that would force us to make changes to be who we really want to be, do what we really want to do, and have what we really want to have. And it is a tool that the man uses to keep us down. And I really agree with that. Bobby McGee, yeah. Okay, and then I'm not sure if this person wanted me to have them be anonymous, so I'll just have them be anonymous just in case. How do you hang out at social gatherings without it? It's so hard. I struggle with it. So yes, I had social anxiety pretty badly that I never really noticed until I quit drinking. The key for that was I started doing improv. And improv has really given me the confidence that to know that like no matter what the situation, I am going to be able to deal with it. Because like the root of social anxiety, right, is that we're not like in control when we're in a social situation. We're afraid of what someone might say to us, what they might think of us. We might be overwhelmed by our feelings about how other people are feeling about us, or we might be worried that we're gonna say something stupid, or we can't think of anything to say at all because we're feeling frightened. So our heads just go blank. I mean, trust me, I still get this, especially if there's like a cute boy. I have no thoughts. So doing improv, you're just like thrown into all these different scenes and you have to be all these different people and react in all these different ways. But you really learn how to listen and just react. and just practice that in a million different settings, it cured my social anxiety because I just realized like all of life is improv. Like we're just improvising all the time. I mean, I didn't start doing improv like till 2 years in. So 1 year was COVID, so I was just at home. You can't have social anxiety when you're home alone. What I do now to control my anxiety, besides like just exercising and eating healthy, is I take CBD supplements. So if you're not aware, like CBD, it is derived from the cannabis plant, but it doesn't have any psychoactive effects. Like it doesn't make you high. You just feel like relaxed. Like if I'm having like a really bad day, I have a CBD and then I'm like, oh, you know what? Everything's okay. Like, and I feel so much better and I can just do the things that I want to do with my life. Okay, so those were all the questions that I had. Is there anything else I want to say about this? Honestly, I feel like my life did not even begin until I was 30 and I quit drinking. It's not too late. It's never too late. You're the captain of your cruise ship and you can do whatever you want. Having special drinks helps too. When I first quit drinking, I got a bunch of seltzers, like LaCroix. Just had those, and after work, when I would usually like have a beer or a glass of wine, I'm like, I'm gonna have a seltzer instead. And ever since then, I've been drinking a lot of seltzers. I love them. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it with a friend. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I appreciate you watching my videos, and the best thing that you could do is if you watch another video of mine right after this, that would really show the algorithm that you like my content and that it's good and that other people should see it. If you have more questions about quitting drinking, leave them as comments below, or you can DM me on Instagram if you wanna not share your questions with the world. I love you. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye. This is not the most flattering light in the world, but it's what's happening today. Literally, I'm so tired, but I know I should make this video, but I also don't feel like it. So this is my compromise for myself. I will sit on the couch while I do it.